Hello all data scientists and data learners. The purpose of this video, I want to share about normalization of database, and this just the basic normalization. We're going to understand what is normalization and why is it important, what are all form types of it, and what is denormalization. What is normalization? A normalization is a technique of organizing the data into multiple related tables to minimize data redundancy. Using what is data redundancy and why should we use it? And how normalization can reduce redundancy? Why is normalization so important? In this example table, you can see that they are duplicated value. We can call redundancy. Redundancy is repetition of data that increases the size of database. If a table is not properly normalized and have data redundancy, then it will not only eat up extra memory space, but will also make it difficult to handle and update the database without facing data loss. Insertion, updation, and deletion abnormalized are very frequent. To have frequent if database is not normalized. To understand this abnormalized, let's see an example. In this table, we have 4 columns. Let's input some records. This table is considered as poor database design because in the column movie rented, there are multiple values. Let's make it more clear. This table looks good, but if we try to insert, update, or delete, we will affect the table and make it tedious and repetitive because of duplicated data. Before knowing how can normalization solve these issues, we have to know first what type of normalization. There are first normal form, second normal form, third normal form, voice code normal form, fourth normal form, fifth normal form, and sixth normal form. First normal form. Every table in your database should at least follow the first normal form. And there are some rules in first normal form. Each table cell should contain a single value, and each column should have unique name. And remember that each column have to have the same data type. Second normal form. The table must be already in first normal form, and all non-key columns of the tables must depend on the primary key. This table didn't have primary key yet. The partial dependencies are removed and placed in a separate table. This table also doesn't have partial dependency, so it's good. A partial functional dependency is when you have a composite key, a primary key that is made up of multiple columns, and one of the non-key columns is functionally dependent on one another, but not all of the columns that make up the composite key. Let's make a composite key between full name and address. We have divided our first normal form table into two tables, Table 1 and Table 2. Table 1 contains member information, Table 2 contains information on movies rented, which is the primary key for Table 1. Records can be uniquely identified in Table 1 using membership ID. Third normal form. It has to be in second normal form and has no transitive functional dependency. Transitive functional dependency is when you have a column that is functionally dependent on a column that is not the primary key. To move our second normal form table into third normal form, we again need to divide our table. We have divided our tables and created a new table which stores salutations In Table 3, salutation ID is primary key, and in Table 1, salutation ID is foreign key to primary key. Now our little example is at a level that cannot further be decomposed to attain higher normal form type of normalization in DBMS. In fact, it is already in higher normalization forms. Separate efforts for moving into next levels of normalizing data are normally needed in complex databases. However, we will be discussing these levels of normalization in DBMS in brief in the following. BCNF, voice code normal form. Even when a database is in third normal form, still there would be abnormalized resulted if it has more than one candidate key. Sometimes BCNF is also referred as 3.5 normal form. First normal form rules. If no database table instance contains two or more independent and multi-values data describing the relevant entity, then it is in fourth normal form. Fifth normal form. A table is in fifth normal form only if it is in fourth normal form, and it cannot be decomposed into any number of smaller tables without loss of data. Sixth normal form. Sixth normal form is not standard yet. It's not standardized yet. That's all I get. Denormalization equal performance advantages. Denormalization data, we can look at the benefits essentially to denormalize a database means to undo the steps taken to isolate data into related tables. This may seem radical approach. Demodify everything against the normal forms. In fact, denormalization disregards the rules of normalization. It will absolutely lead to redundant data and duplicated columns. Denormalization means joining data from two or more normalized tables. This data can then be inserted into a single table. That's all from normalization, denormalization, and thank you for your attention.